I have 7 o'clock on my phone.
There we go.
There it is.
Okay, 7 o'clock, let's get started. Call this meeting to order. We'll start with introductions.
Olin Friend Gray.
Robert Kelly.
Carol Merton, School Board Rep.
Donna Danis, acting select board rep.
John Decker.
Michelle King,
Tom LeVay.
Thomas Butkevich.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Michael Kelly.
and we'll note that Sandra Jones just isn't here yet. Did everybody get the minutes from the last meeting? I know we're doing them different now, so, Kelly said we'll continue to do the edits the same way that we did with Lorraine, so if you have any edits, send them directly to her. She'll fix them and then put them back out to us. I wasn't here last time, so I'm not gonna vote on the minutes this time, but if everybody saw the minutes and.
I made some slight changes to them.
Okay, so we're just gonna wait on the final
If you want to,
draft?
or I can read off the slight changes. But, I mean, I don't know if anyone else sent them, because she said, she didn't say it was gonna be exactly like Lorraine. So Lorraine, if I send Lorraine a change, she makes the change and she sends the new version out to everybody. That
Right.
way, if you check your email, if you wanna go read it, whatever the last one you got, that's the most up-to-date
Well,
one.
let's have Kelly do it that same way then.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Okay,
idea.
Let's wait then and do the minutes the next meeting, so that way we can have Kelly send out what you added, and everybody can view that and see if they wanna accept it or not, so.
Right, because Owen,
I also added that I was here,
yeah,
because I think I scooted in on the end and you couldn't.
Yeah,
even
you
me
can't
on
see the end.
TV. Yeah.
right. Yeah, because the camera that's as far back as the camera can go, for obvious reasons. Okay,
Alright, so we'll default those meeting minutes
Right.
to the next meeting.
she only got them out today.
Is
so-
Lorraine not gonna be with us this year?
No, Lorraine, resigned from doing the minutes for the budget committee, so the town, from my understanding, has hired someone else.
Okay,
And they are gonna be taking minutes through the video
okay.
that is being recorded right now.
Which is actually very common,
Is it?
actually, yeah.
Okay.
Might be better, actually.
It might be a lot worse. Sometimes you can barely hear people. You gotta make sure you have one of these mics near you and pointed to you, and like when Kathy Brosnan is here, you can barely hear her on the video. So
Yep.
don't sit way back here and talk real soft.
Yeah.
We can always hear you.
I know, I make sure to talk right into the mic.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a smooth process. But it is what it is.
Right.
So we can look to the town default budget.
We did that last week.
Okay. Sorry, these are old agenda minutes. Or it's
Well,
old
yeah, because
agenda.
we had the same agenda for
From
this
last
week and
week.
next week. Right, last week and this week, sorry.
So before we go through this, I just have a quick question. Why would there be a difference in a salary for the default budget?
Are you talking about the school one or the town?
I can't hear.
Are you talking about the school or the town?
The, school.
Because they have a
So that's what-
contractual
right.
raise.
So
Well, they
for
don't-
background, you take the current year budget, we've had staffing changes, we have contractual obligations, we have, this one is particularly different because the SAU assessment and the preschool used to be lump sum, and they had to be redistributed into the lines and new lines created. So there's many reasons why there are changes. So if you're looking at teacher salaries, that includes staffing changes, it includes step increases, it includes track changes, it includes their CBA across the board increases.
So they get those irregardless of whether there's a new contract?
The new contracts won't start till next year, so this is the last year of the current contract.
Okay, okay. That makes sense.
If the new contract is not approved, do they just keep operating under the old contract?
Yes, but under the teacher contract, they get their step increases because of the language that's in the contract. The paras do not.
Meaning it continues with whatever was in the last contract as far as that type of stuff.
Just for the step, yeah.
Just for the step increase.
Right, so it'll still go up because of the step stuff.
Yes.
It's
not
actually,
accepted.
it's the same budget period because it takes effect with the same time we're actually budgeting for.
The new contract, any increases that are in the new contract would be a separate warrant article, so
Right.
that So this only reflects
Slide down.
The steps.
if there were step or track changes and
Right.
personnel changes. So this 25,000 that's shown on the first line is if there were changes in staffing from what we have in the budget this year. So there could have been changes in staffing that went into effect
Yep.
last school year, but wasn't reflected in the current budget.
They're lucky they don't have to negotiate the step increases. We did.
Yes, it's unusual, but it is in their contract. So, when the school board saw this draft, and it is definitely a draft of the default budget, we did not have the SAU assessment broken out into the lines. And so that is something that we're going to have to go back through for both the defaults and the proposed budget, because we have not, reviewed those. But for this draft, he did break them out.
Okay.
So this is just the draft default budget?
It's very much a draft, because we have not, we saw a prior version of this, but the board hasn't even seen this version, and we have not had it reviewed by legal counsel yet.
When we get the full version, is it gonna be like a regular budget, like with all the lines, not just the ones with the changes?
I told
Yeah.
Ian that you requested that for the town as well. So,
Because that does say default, right?
nope, that's as proposed.
It's not proposed.
But yes,
Usually it
default
comes out of
budget.
the same software, it looks the same. It's just the difference it's the difference between having all the lines versus just the lines with the changes, because we can't police whether or not one-time costs were excluded if we don't know all the things that were excluded and included.
So should we start at the top then and just go down in order, like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
Word?
there's really a lot to say about,
Okay.
the first section is, and you grouped it by function. The first section is obviously anything that's impacted by personnel, it affects the salary, it affects benefits, it affects FICA, it affects retirement, so it just trickles down into all of those. And then the next section is, special ed. And so the special ed, on the second page, the special ed preschool used to just be a lump sum payment to SU 44 for the 161, 633, so that is taken out. But then there is a teacher for the preschool who is part of the special ed teacher salaries. There is, I think, a para and a half for the preschool. And then the secretary was the special ed secretary. We don't have, actually, we do have that position, but there was a change in staffing. So all of our secretary positions changed. We had retirement of one, and then as a result of that, another secretary in the office moved over to special ed secretary, and then her position was filled by the former permanent sub, and then we have one position still that hasn't been filled.
All right.
I just
So
have,
the
okay.
teacher, the preschool teacher is now up here in the teacher stuff?
Is part of the special ed teacher salaries,
Special, all right, so,
which is the 1,200.
yeah, so that first line on that section, okay.
Do you know for line 1,200, 5,110, teacher salary, and I guess it's special ed, the 70,000 increase, it says they added a teacher. Do you know what the salary of that teacher was?
Off the top of my head, no. That's-
Can we find out that?
When we do the proposed budget, we can give more
Okay,
detail.
okay.
Because when we do that, we provide all of the teacher salaries, so.
Carol, I have a general question on special ed. I think you said last meeting it's required. It's like a government thing. It's good to do. I saw there were some grants available. Does the school apply for or receive any grants to help with the special ed costs?
So we have multiple grants. When the superintendent comes for the proposed budget, I think we typically provide at least the grant revenue, so it doesn't necessarily offset everything in these categories, but there's multiple grants that cover some of special.
There's always grants from special ed, but it's never enough to cover.
all of it.
Yeah, it's quite a big numbers in there, so.
What kind of strings are attached to those grants?
I'm not sure what you mean by strings.
Well, when federal government gives us money, it almost always has strings attached.
Stipulations or anything?
They told us that you will spend this stuff, they give you some of the money and tell you you're forced to pay the rest.
Right.
So that's your string.
But also in accepting that some of the money, you also agree to certain other restrictions and things as well, usually. So I'm guessing like the special ed secretary, part of their job is managing all of these requirements and things?
Most of what they do is there's lots of documentation and paperwork involved for any student on an IEP. So they do that.
How many students are on IEPs?
I don't have that number.
Special ed director is really in charge of making sure everything's done the right way and we're following all the guidelines. That's their function.
I just had a quick question about the healthcare buyout. It says 0 for current and then 7,000.
Which line is that?
What
The very bottom one on the
Right.
first
Yeah,
page.
1,200, 290.
Special ed buyout, 7,000, yeah.
But it looked like last year, I don't know if I'm reading this one right, showed 9,000 proposed for 2023, 8.
When it says current, that's actual spending, isn't it?
No, that would be the current budget.
Or the current budget?
That could just be a typo and that, so this is a, a separate, obviously, document that he created manually. Because the software doesn't just spit it out.
Yeah, the buyout's pretty straightforward. If they decide not to take the healthcare benefits, they pay them a lump sum, which is a lot less than what it would cost the district if they took the healthcare.
Right, but most people don't get that. I mean, you see one gets $15,000 buyout, that's very generous.
It's not just one
From
person.
taxpayer.
It's not one person. It's a group of teachers or.
Well, I mean, if you flip down a little bit. Under 2410-5211, 14,990, is that just
Wait a
one
minute, wait a
person or not?
Where are you now?
What page are you on?
There's no page numbers.
I know.
Where were you
Fourth.
looking at? It
they
doesn't
graduate.
line up with mine. No,
Oh,
on
I'm
this page.
sorry,
I'm back
on
on
that
your
one.
first question.
Oh, this is proposed, that's probably the actual budget.
Well, this is the proposed budget for the same year. 1,252.11 is not the same line as this one. This is 1,252.90.
Okay, okay, so they're always the same, the lines are always the
They
same
should
year to
be, but
year?
I may have renumbered them.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Should have been the same line. I
Oh,
don't
you have
know.
last year's?
Yeah, he's looking at
Oh,
last
that
year's.
was smart.
So if you look at 2410-5211, it's like the fourth to last page, or should I say 1, 2, 3, the fourth page.
Fourth page?
Yeah, there's a healthcare buyout. Is that more than one person?
Which,
What line,
What
what
line?
line item are you?
01.2410.5211.00.
principal health buyout. That's the first line in
Yeah.
that section.
Is that more than one person?
Principal help
It would
buyout.
be the principal and the assistant.
Oh, and the assistant?
Yeah.
Gets that also included?
Yep. It's in that same section. It says assistant principal retirement.
And the secretary then too, if it's in the same
Buyout.
section?
Right? So wait a second.
I don't believe the secretary gets a buyout.
Well, it's in the same section though, right?
Right.
So
I don't
it looks
understand.
like the principal's taking the buyout, but the assistant's principal's getting health coverage. And the
Right.
buyout is higher than the health coverage. That makes zero sense to me.
I suspect the
But
buyout,
that's what I'm saying, most people don't get it. I just think
Unless-
it's unethical.
unless
We're
that
paying people not
means-
to have health insurance. I mean, that just doesn't seem right to me.
Unless it's
That's
just a
common
bad
practice.
title.
That's not common practice in,
Well, if their spouse has it.
not in the real world out there. I don't
Yeah,
see
So
it
I
that's
anywhere.
what it is.
The purpose of
Usually if
this
you're
is to
federal
go through.
government or
No.
teachers union, that's complicated.
education's a real.
We can have these debates with the
take
proposed
offense to
budget,
that.
but the
Not
purpose
at all.
of this is to go through
I
the
worked at
default, which is not something that.
That's not normal. I wish it was normal. That'd be nice.
But I will ask why these lines don't match up, because the
I think the
52
word buyout shouldn't be there. I think it's,
Right,
I think that's his health benefit.
Right,
thought we had
I
all
think
had
that's, I
Obamacare.
think it's a
It's
bad
supposed to
title,
fix
you're right.
everything.
Right, I think it's a mistake, that's all.
So Carol, the health buyouts, it's kind of like we would be spending, like how many teachers are there roughly? Super ballpark number, 100?
No, there's about 100 employees total, so maybe 70 or so.
So if it's 590,000 for teachers' health divided by 70, that's like 8,000. So, and we buy them out for
500,
500,
that's all.
the buyout?
That's all they get
Yeah.
paid.
So basically,
win-win for us.
so basically like, as a recognition of the fact that we don't have to pay for their health insurance, we're giving them like $500 cash because they took a lot of burden off the
Right.
taxpayers, right?
That's right.
So I mean, that's kind of like the educational freedom accounts, like where if someone doesn't send their kid to public school, since you guys are spending like 19,000 or so per student, we give them like, what is it? It's like 2,000 for the educational freedom group vouchers?
I'm not sure, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. 100%.
So it's kind of the equivalent of that, I guess.
A percentage?
Yeah.
The amounts of-
Well, I mean, I just mean, you know, the
The
whole goal of
14,000
it,
is it, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Similar idea.
the similar idea.
I just don't know why they don't do it in,
Well, these aren't final numbers.
No.
I mean, it's such a good deal. I just don't know why companies don't do that, because that'd be a win-win for the companies.
That's a good
right?
question.
I know some,
It's
I
not
know
a-
some
it's not a
companies
good
do.
deal, that's why.
I
Bring it
know
up
some
to me.
companies do.
Some people, what you're doing is you're taking the money and you're buying for your significant other health insurance. You're getting health insurance for free and you're pocketing 10 grand. I mean, that's what's going on here. I mean, it is what
Companies
it
do
is.
do it. My
Yeah,
company
companies
does
do
it.
do that.
Yeah, how much is it?
Oh, I don't know, I don't work for one.
Not 14,000.
Yeah.
It's not
Not that many.
14,000.
No, I'm sure that these numbers
Yeah,
are gonna
that's my
change.
point.
But
Yeah.
14,000, again, I'll
we'll see-
reiterate,
we'll see the
it's not
breakdown
for
of
one person. It could
So how many
be,
people is it for then?
Well, we
No,
don't,
no,
could be
no.
20,
they'll break
it
it
could be
down
20
more
people.
for us.
No, the.
On this one?
The principal one, you're talking about the one
Yes.
that's labeled.
That's on a
principal.
buyout, that's what his health costs.
Yeah,
Buyout.
I know it does.
It shouldn't
I
be
think the
there. I
title is
mean,
bad.
common sense, you know?
Well, why is it on there if it's common sense?
This is a new document, you know, we have new people in charge now. There's gonna be little
Right,
mistakes.
it was on the last one too, last year
But
document.
we didn't ask about it, so we'll just ask now. You
I
know,
did ask about it last year,
last year,
yes.
okay, well,
Nothing got done about it.
we'll ask him to remove it then.
Well, there's a new superintendent, so when we talk to him, we can ask him about
It's not
it.
a buyout, it shouldn't say buyout. If it is,
Or it should say or,
well,
and maybe that's what the slash is supposed to be. Who knows? They only get so much.
I
room.
guarantee you the principal is taking health insurance from the school.
Did we get any grant money for like the pre-K stuff, since we're not bunking up with the SAU with Northwood?
Grant money?
Yeah, or any kind of special money for pre-K or anything?
So some of the students are identified, so they're special ed, so there could be special ed grant money if that's what
Okay,
we can get anything
for it,
for preschool in general.
right, okay.
But,
I think we may have put in a request to use impact fees. If that came to the selectmen yet.
That has not come to us yet.
So I don't know, retroactively we can, but for the construction. So we had to do some renovations to create the preschool one.
Carol, was the preschool required by the state or federal level?
For students who are identified, it's a requirement, for special education. So it's not required, and the students who are not identified pay tuition. So the ones, that try to keep roughly 50-50 ratio of identified to non-identified.
Do they have a full pre-K this first year?
4-year-olds are full and it has a wait list. 3-year-olds, I think there's still spaces.
Okay, just curious.
Carol, total budget lines at the very end, it said including FS.
Food service.
Would it be common for food service not to be included in these lines? I guess I'm trying to figure out why it's highlighted.
In the budget, food service is broken out separately, and I think also in, the state reporting, and food service, again, is, there's revenues from the state that come back to offset food service costs, so.
Gotcha.
So some of these can be offset by revenue, and that one, I think most of food services.
Yeah.
I should say the actual food part of food service, probably not the personnel.
Yeah, yeah, no.
How many custodians do we have?
There's,
3.
I think, 2 full-time maybe, and 1 or 2 part-time.
So if you took and looked at 2620, 5211, 01, the custodial health, took that amount, 55,267, and divided it by 2.5, that would give you a rough estimate of what it costs for an individual to have health. Now weigh that against the buyout, which, again, we don't know what that number is, but it's typically very, very small.
You
So
can't,
there's-
you can't use that number because you don't know if they're using family or non-family
Right.
or whatever, so it's,
Well,
yeah, you,
it's a rough, you know,
Right.
very rough.
Yeah.
But we can give you the cost, we not have the cost, obviously, there's 2 different plans, there's a family and single, and different depending on
Maybe we can bring that
the
to the
type
next
of
meeting.
employee, whether they get just the single subsidized, or, I think,
Family.
I don't remember what the non-represented staff get, but in the CBAs, it says what they,
What's the split, is it 80-20?
no.
for this.
District pays 80,
Well, it's either 80 or 90% of single, but not for the family one.
which is pretty standard.
So it's a 2.6% increase?
I calculated 2.7.
For what, though, overall?
Yeah, yeah. I just looked at whatever number was at the end. Total budget
I like
preliminary.
2.6 myself. I think 2.7 goes over.
Did I type the wrong number in here?
2.7 is a pretty nice
Well,
number.
I don't know, what number did you, just the 428, right,
Oh, no.
of what?
I divided 395,000 by 15,107,000. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 2.6 or 2.7, I'm just
Right.
looking for a rough number here.
2.61, close.
Well, keep in mind, you're comparing a proposed default budget with last year's budget.
Right.
So you really want to compare this year's budget with last year's budget.
Well, I'm just looking at the 2 options that'll be presented to the voter, so if this stays the way it is, then the one option is a 2.6% increase, and then when we get a proposed budget, we'll find out what the other option
The other
is.
one
Yeah.
is.
I would sense that the regular budget is going to be less than the default.
Never know.
I don't know.
Don't know until we know.
Do we have an idea on that, Carol?
I haven't seen it.
Don't want to speculate.
Oh, I love speculating.
No, because that becomes, all of a sudden, that becomes a rumor, and
Does anybody else have any more questions for Carol? I mean, 2.7, 2.6, it's not bad, especially with everything.
Carol, just a question out of
Uh-huh.
curiosity. Are you finding this year with our, having our own superintendent, his own staff and all that, that the budgeting process is going better than It's not?
Probably not
No,
for a while.
because we don't have a BA or a finance manager, so we have a superintendent who
He's
does
doing-
not
he's
have
doing
that
everything.
experience, who's trying to do this himself.
Okay.
Is he managing?
Is he managing?
Is he able to, is he doing an okay job at it?
They're paying bills and paying employees.
All right, well,
He's running the whole, having to run the entire business operation because we haven't been able to fill that position.
but we originally were looking for a part-time superintendent, right?
Yep,
And then we picked him up, but he's full-time? So if he can do all this other BA stuff in the meantime, then that kind of works out.
but he doesn't have a BA background.
Yeah, but he's able to do it. I mean, when you say they have someone needs a BA background, is that like a licensing thing? Are they required to have certain credentials to hold that position? And he's kind of like getting an interim pass?
He's probably just getting thrown into the wolves.
Every district I know has,
Yeah.
Oh, you learn real quick that way.
I mean, you do, you're either gonna
You
sink or
learn, yeah.
swim, so I hope he's, you know,
Typically, they have an
the best
accounting
he can.
background.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as we can keep him doing all this stuff and we don't have to pay for a business administrator, it's a
Send him
good
some
deal.
chocolates. Send him some party favors. Thank you for doing this.
Then we have to be patient with the budgeting process, too.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while, I'm sure. For things to find a groove. What do you think? You guys wanna move on, or you have any more questions? I mean, like she said, it was a very, very rough draft, so.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on to the committee reports.
Were there any updates about town stuff, Donna? Okay.
Not specific to the default budget, no.
No,
Anything we should be aware of
I didn't know if it was
otherwise?
my turn to say anything else.
it's
I
a
think
committee
so.
report, so.
Yeah,
you
I
can-
think so. We'll do the committee report, so.
No, we continue to work through the department head requests. I think Monday night at our next meeting is probably gonna be the first time when we all get together and start to at least talk about the philosophy of how we're going to approach it and start looking at some of the line items that are the ones that jump out at us the most. So we haven't done that yet. We will start doing that, because I think it's December 3rd when you're looking for first pass from us.
December 1st, town budget draft.
December 1st, okay.
Yeah.
I think John's probably told you guys, you're all well aware about, you know, one of the biggest challenges for us is salaries. So that's definitely something that we're gonna be looking at as we go through that process.
Okay.
Yep,
This is gonna be at is this on the 14th meeting?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other question I had for you guys was, I was looking at the schedule that, Kelly had shared with us, which I think was your final schedule, and there were slots for department head meetings.
Yep, next week.
And who is it that you are looking to speak to?
Everybody. I liked what we did last year.
We had everybody come.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
We had the rec person, we had the police chief, we had the fire chief, we had the roads and recycling center guy.
The
Yeah,
library.
that was nice. I liked that a
I
lot.
think it was that the people who wanted to come and speak to their stuff.
Cause they were all asking for stuff that I think were like the police had asked for stuff, the fire, that was a big deal. The, library had their elevator, the rec had, you know, a bunch of programs they were rolling out, so yeah, I think they wanted to come.
So the only reason I ask is because I don't think any of that has been scheduled. So I don't know that there's the expectation with department heads yet that they're supposed to be here at your next meeting. So you know, I can certainly go back and, inquire about that. So that's one caveat. The other caveat is that, the department heads have presented their budgets to us, or their requests to us. We haven't gone through them yet. So there may be stuff that we look at that we say, we think we need to defer this.
When are you guys gonna look at it?
Well,
Like I said, we're just gonna start going through that process at our next meeting.
but, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them
Nope,
giving us the
Nope.
same
nope,
spiel that they give you guys.
exactly. But we'll just have to see, you know, they weren't aware or anticipating that for next week, so.
All right.
It would be better if they had, if the people that came, when they came to see us, they had a more realistic idea of what even the Board of Selectmen was going to approve for them.
They may not agree with what the selectmen approve for them. They may say, I really need this, selectmen said no.
Well, wait till they get
Or-
here.
Or they, you know, who knows, you know, it's like,
So,
they're presenting a budget, they're pulling together what they really think they need to run their department. That's, you know, then they negotiate with, the select board, and the select board basically can overrule them no matter what, because that's their prerogative.
At the end of the day, it's your budget. that
Right,
gets
it's our-
presented.
right,
It's not
exactly.
ours.
right,
They've
which is
already
why I would
presented
think
to
they would
you,
come
so
here
they-
after they meet with the select board, because
They
they
may
would.
not know that the select board cut their stuff.
Well, I mean,
That's happened before.
not a good practice.
I would say, I guess I would like to see all of them, but
Yeah, I would like to see all of them too,
But I
but
would-
I'd like to see all of them when we really know what it is that they understand that they can get at all.
I guess what I was going to say is, I'd like to have them present any differences, significant differences from last year, and then give their justification of why they need it. And irregardless of what you guys do, let us hear that information, and we may say that night,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I have no problem with them
and
coming.
that
in.
gives them direction. If we say yes, they're gonna go along with it.
I have
They've
no
already
problem.
presented to you, hopefully they have their stuff, you know, at least a little bit readily available for us.
I don't wanna
know
go
it's
line
last
item by
minute.
line on,
Yeah.
with every single person for
I
a
mean, they're
dollar.
also not, they don't also have the responsibility of thinking about the tax cap like we do. But I'm 100% supportive of them coming and talking to you guys and presenting their case. That's, I just need to make sure that they're aware that that is what your expectation is for next week.
We can find everybody's
Right.
email on the
It's-
main page.
I'd say the more the merrier, the more
Yeah.
people that we can have
It's
come in.
always good hearing
It's-
about the
it's
stuff that
nice
they're doing,
just with
too.
an explanation when you're
Right, or
comparing
what
it
they
on
need.
paper and you can hear why and,
Right.
and what they're looking to do. It's very helpful.
As long as you guys are nice to them.
We're always nice to them.
I'm looking at you.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense
That's you,
to have
Tom.
them come in, because otherwise, if we're trying to cram them in at a different point,
That's exactly what's
just
gonna be, cramming
gonna
them
be
in
cramming them
somewhere.
in and not being,
I think that's fair.
Well, the two big ones are police and fire, so
those are the two big ones, yeah.
Well, I
Well,
would,
and
What do you mean they're big
the
ones?
road,
They're not that big.
cost-wise.
For the town, it's not that much.
Really, the police didn't have, really didn't ask for much.
They usually have
They're-
the most warrant articles.
Highway-
Police budget
highway.
was down last year, and they're underspent this year,
again, those
so,
are two areas where salaries are going to have a big impact.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
okay.
Because we can't find people. And we can't keep, well, I think John told you guys that last week.
Are we trying to make reductions in other areas, so it's not
Like I said,
salaries plus all these other items going up?
we haven't started going through the
Okay,
details yet.
all right.
If we've lost our land use clerk, which really is, where we've only had one meeting without him and we really noticed it.
We've actually hired somebody for that.
That's awesome.
Yep,
Well, 4%
John
cap
said
is
was
pretty,
hoping
I
it
think,
was
pretty
gonna
high.
happen, so.
it's done.
What they committed last year, the town.
It was for about 4.
Yeah, a little bit over 4, right? It was at 10.
And that was a big one for the town,
I know,
so
I
that
know.
was, yeah.
Yep.
But those salaries may challenge the whole situation, you know?
You know, and it's just, it's salaries across the board, right? It's land use clerk, it's fire, it's police, it's, town administrator, right?
Superintendent,
it-
business
it's
administrator,
across the
every
board.
position we've hired for,
Yep.
we grossly underestimated.
Yep.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that was kind of planned in advance. Like, there was, last year was dedicated, it was like, oh, here's a big pot of money for merit raises that can be doled out around. So it's not like salary increases appeared out of nowhere. It was a planned
We
thing.
did budget for the COLA increases last year, for sure.
May I ask a question? I don't know if you know the answer or not, but do most towns give merit increases?
I don't know if most is the right word, but it's not unusual.
I think it's a much better policy than this STEP policy, which for people listening at home, if you don't know, STEP just means mandatory raise every year, basically.
Not based on performance or anything.
No, no.
It's based on time.
So it's nicer to have merit increases, which is like, well, you're doing a great job here, have some extra money, guy.
that's the
I'll
difference
just make one
between-
comment to merit in education, is we had merit down at Timberlane many years ago. And if it's based on performance, the district couldn't afford it. Because there's that many good teachers.
Well, they have a pool, right? That's what you guys did. You said we have this amount of money to give out to, for merit, and then you kind of gave like the department heads the ability to hand that out, so. If everybody's good, then only the very best
Two
people
different
will get
completely
it.
environments though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, it's not apples to apples.
Subjective as to who evaluates.
Anything else?
Yes, it is very subjective to who evaluates. All right.
Anything else? Okay, Carol, did you, I know we just went through this, but was there any more updates for the school or anything you could think of?
No CIP.
No CIP?
One CIP meeting.
I haven't got an email about it. I know, Ed,
Who organizes that meeting? I think there might be a lack of.
Tony DeMoss, maybe?
Supposed
No?
to be the planning board.
Is it planning?
That's, I believe
If it's the planning board, it's me, and I know
believe
nothing
it's the
about it.
planning who actually owns it.
Planning,
I
okay.
think, the town administrator maybe organized it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be
I'm
perfect.
I'm the representative from the planning board, but I'm the alternate, and the first night I was there, they said, we want to do, and I had, if there was any idea that I was going to be the head of it, that was never mentioned. And I wouldn't be a good head of it, because I have no idea.
Well, I believe planning owns it, but select board has kind of,
So, it, it used to be a very formal process,
yeah.
right? What I think has happened in the last couple of years is that, at least on the town side, Chris has taken input from all of the department heads and kind of mapped it out. And he did that for us this year, so we have that. The school, you know, provides theirs when they have it ready as well. I think we have a pretty good view of ours on the town side now. There's been inconsistent participation and, in that committee. And in my personal opinion, it hasn't been used as the effective planning tool as it should be used.
I agree, it has been really lax the last several years. And when we first started doing it, I think it was helpful.
What was it?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
So we've been working on updating our CIP. I wouldn't say it's ready yet, but after next week's meeting it might be. So I think just somebody needs to schedule a meeting of all the ours.
Okay. Who should I mean, do you want me to initiate it, or
So Megan is ours.
Megan's the best?
Who's in charge of facility committee?
Lori Kilbreth and I think Kathy.
Who?
Was Kathy at the last meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah, Lori and Kathy.
I'll reach out and find out if they're gonna get together sometime.
And can you check with the select board and see who and what is, in
Well,
setting up the CIP meetings?
so,
Or Ed Beal, or he's the chair of the planning board, so, but I haven't heard anything from him about it either.
I'll ask our interim, TA to try and pull something together.
Okay. And then somehow let me know, and we'll go from there.
All right. So it sounds like we're reorganizing the committees a little bit. Hopefully reaching out and getting together, have some updates for maybe the next meeting, or the next meeting after that. Today's the 10th, we'll have one on the 17th and then on the 1st.
If the next meeting is next week, I wouldn't anticipate having anything at that point.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything else to say, anything they wanna bring up? I think we're coming to an end with the committee's parting thoughts. No. Our next meeting is gonna be on the 17th. I'll reach out to the department heads to see if they'll be able to present, and I'll let you guys know who's confirmed and who hasn't, so just be on the lookout for emails from me. That's it?
Okay,
Is that it?
make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
All in favor to